The night is darkest just before dawn. It's 1841 and a man is walking in the snow on a desolate street in Milan. He proceeds hunched over with his gaze downcast. He is a failure, a man who has lost everything. His name is Giuseppe Verdi, and he has just decided to stop composing. The Milan Conservatory has rejected him for admission. The reason is an incorrect hand position and being too old. Then a tragedy happens to him. His children, two 1.5-year-old infants, die, and his wife Margherita, overcome with grief, also dies. Verdi at the same time attempts a career as an opera composer, but his second opera is a total flop and is withdrawn the same night as the premiere. Life has defeated him. At the beginning of the opera Nabucco, Assyrians lay siege to the city of Jerusalem. A frenzied theme of brass and strings describes the turmoil and agitation of the people. The Jews' trappings in the temple as outside the city collapses and all seems tutto sembra perduto. Italy was also in danger of being lost forever in those years. The great monarchies ruled over a land in turmoil, dismembered and divided. In 1831, the Austrians in Modena hanged revolutionary Piero Menotti. The revolt is quelled in blood. In Rimini, Cesena and Forlì, the Pope's army slaughters many young patriots. And in Rome, the pontiff beheads the 25-year-old Carbonari Targhini and Montanari. In the kingdom of the two Sicilies, the young Bandiera brothers are shot while shouting their last words, Viva l'Italia! Viva l'Italia! In Act 2, the treacherous monarch Nabucco, who deported the Jews to Babylon, accompanied by somber chords from the trombones, cast the God of the Jews into the dust. Now they have only one God.
Ascoltati tutti miei, venza il lume, il vostro.
At this point, a thunderbolt falls from the sky and strikes Nabucodonosor, plunging him into madness. The orchestra represents the lightning with a long descending scale that runs through all sections of the orchestra.
Danzanti re, santi.
This is one of the topoi of Verdi's dramaturgy. Hubris, the power that blinds and leads to madness. On that snowy January evening, Verdi meets an old friend, impresario Morelli, on the street, who slips a new opera libretto into his coat pocket that no one wanted to make. The German composer Otto Nicolai had just rejected it. Verdi shakes his head. He has already decided to quit, and with a downcast gaze sets out for home on Corso Vittorio Emanuele. He decided to leave the city and return to live in the countryside near Busseto. In Milan, Verdi frequented Clara Maffei's salon at Palazzo Belgioioso. The whole Milanese cultural milieu moved there. In the 30s, he had been a guest of the composer Franz Liszt. The salon was frequented by writer Massimo d'Azeglio and patriot Cesare Correnti, and over the years Balzac and Rossini had passed through there. In the Maffei salon hung this painting, a gift from the painter Hayes, another frequenter of the Maffei. The painter in those same years made many paintings on themes similar to Verdi's. The salon was also frequented by Alessandro Manzoni, who was to meet Verdi himself in May 67. Verdi reports that meeting in one of his letters and writes, "I am no longer very shy, but in front of Manzoni I feel so small that I never or almost never find a word." However, those Milanese days were drawing to a close. Verdi had already decided to leave Milan and stop composing. He was practically certain of it until that night. Once home, Verdi took off his coat, and impresario Merelli's libretto fell to the floor, opening on a random page. Verdi picks it up, and his eyes fall distractedly on a single verse. Va, pensiero sull'ali dorate. Verdi repeats it to himself, and a delicate arpeggio of violins comes to his mind. In this chorus from Nabucco, the chained Jews regret a beautiful and lost homeland. At the premiere of Verdi's third opera, a religious silence fell in the hall. Bright-eyed young men stood up. That was a prayer, the prayer of the nation. The success of the opera will be extraordinary. The opera would be repeated for 57 performances. By the end of 44, it will be held in nearly 60 theaters from Berlin to Malta, from Lisbon to Corfu. All of Europe is moved by Verdi's music, and everything seems possible again. At the second performance of Nabucco, Merelli shows up at Verdi's with an already signed contract on which all that was missing was the figure left blank. Thus would begin Verdi's career, and during the performances of Nabucco, he would also meet his future wife, Giuseppina Strepponi. Meanwhile, the flames of revolution flare up again. On city walls, the words Viva Vittorio Emanuele, King of Italy, begin to appear, but to avoid censorship, an acronym Viva Verdi is used. In the early days of January 48, the air in Milan was particularly fresh and clean. A smoking strike was underway to destabilize the Austrian administration by blocking tax revenues on tobacco sales. Thus began the tensions that would bring the 5 days of Milan and throughout Europe the uprisings of 1848. At the end of Nabucco, the perfidious king comes to his senses from his madness and decides to finally free the Jews, who comment with a grandiose a cappella chorus. It is a chorus that has a responsorial progression, like a prayer, that is, the chorus alternates with the soloists. Right in 1848, after 15 years of exile, Giuseppe Garibaldi lands in Italy. And the ship on which he arrives is called Hope, Speranza. Giuseppe Verdi, who had lost everything, will become a legend, and once Italy is finally united, he will be appointed a member of the Italian Senate. Today, the Milan conservatory that failed the composer at the mission is called Giuseppe Verdi. Hopefully, our night will not be too dark either. From the ties we loosed, the entangled thought-free heart sweeps through the fields of truth and scattered the light over the peoples was. Subscribe to my channel and let's keep a light burning.